to show you guys how to cast jigs and sinkers. So first you want to start off by reading through your directions first. Make sure you get all your supplies ready. The first step on here says you need to lay out all of your materials. First thing we're going to do is grab out our molds. You are going to use two different molds. One is going to be for your jigs, so you will need to get a little baggie of me that has 8 hooks in them. You will have 4 small and 4 large, so that's our first mold. The second mold is going to be for our sinkers. All right, you have 2 different sizes in here. You're also going to need to make sure in the bin that has all the equipment and stuff like that in it, there is a little metal bar that is going to go inside of here. So we have our little, it makes a little groove inside of the sinkers. All right, I'm also going to want to make sure I get out a pair of needle nose pliers. Now we're melting lead here. Lead melts at 621 degrees. So it's very, very, very hot, and if it touches your skin, we might be taking a little trip to the hospital, okay? It's not like just grabbing a pizza or something out of the oven. This is even hot, double the amount of heat in that. So needle nose pliers. We also want a pair of side cutters because we're gonna have to cut off the sprue and riser from our mold. We're gonna want to grab a ladle. Now this is a ladle. What makes this different from a slag spoon is we have 2 little spouts that come out the side. You can use either one, but I find when we're pouring, I use the ladle first. All right, safety. Make sure you have all your hair tied back if you got long hair like me. You wanna make sure that you have any sweatshirt, any strings, ties, whatever. Make sure that's all secured. Safety glasses are a must, okay? We don't want any of this stuff getting in our eyes. So what I need to do, make sure I turn on my furnace. Here I have my furnace. It's already been plugged in. We want to have it, there's a number low, and then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and high. Keep it between 7 and 8, okay? So make sure you plug in the furnace, give it about 5 to 7 minutes to warm up, about 5 minutes to warm up. We want to make sure that the exhaust is turned on because it can create some smoke and the smell is a little, not always the greatest. So I want that to make sure everything's heated up, warmed up. Make sure the furnace is full enough. You don't want to be sitting there scraping the bottom. If you need to refill the furnace, please let me know. I will bring it over. We want to keep it about 3/4 of an inch, or 3/4 the way full as we're doing it. Allow it to heat up. So what I'm going to do as this is going on, as it's heating up, I'm going to get my molds ready. First, I'm going to take my jig mold. You're going to notice that there are 8 molds on here. 4 of them have a larger head, 4 of them have a smaller head. I'm simply going to take my hooks that I get from me, the teacher, and I'm going to place them inside of the mold. With our hook, we have a little round part right here. That is going to go in on our mold. All right, you're gonna notice that there's a tiny little spot for that. So you gotta be real careful when you're placing these in here, because if they're not placed in here properly, you are not going to be able to pour the mold, and when you lift it up, everything, all your little hooks are gonna fall out of there. So I just simply take these real quick, place them inside. Be careful not to stab yourself. They are very, very, very sharp. All right, grab my other side. Now I'm gonna do the small ones. If you have any questions at any point in time and you can't get these in or it's not working for you, please let me know. I'm happy to come back and help you out. All right, so 1, 2, and 1 more. All right. Again, just be careful you don't stab yourself. So everything is in there nice and neat. If you do it properly, when you go to close it, I never want to pick up both sides and go like this, because if I do, all the hooks are going to fall out. Keep your side that has the hooks in it flat on the table, hold the handle, and you're simply going to bring over the other handle, and you should hear a metal on metal click, like that. So I'm going to lift this up, hold it with both hands. If it's not right, you're going to notice a gap on the top. That means that they're not in there properly. You have to set it down, open it back up. All right, so as I'm going to pour this, I'm going to hold it in one hand. I predominantly am right-handed, so I'm going to hold it in my left hand, and you can even have it sitting on the table, but you have to hold the handle together. If you don't, the mold will open. So what we're doing is we're going to take our metal, and the first thing that we want to do is we want to kind of scrape the top. What happens over time is there might have been some impurities in the lead, or it sat there too long and tend to burn up, so you're just going to scrape it and grab any of those little impurities. It's called slag. So you're going to grab that out of there, and there's a little bucket next to the furnace that's on that you can just pour it into there. So now I'm going to grab a little scoop of this. Now the nice thing with this is if I make a mistake, I can always remelt things. So I'm just simply taking and I'm pouring into my mold. Don't try to over pour too much because it might splash onto your hand. All right. when you are doing this, you and one other person should be at the table. There should be no more than 2 people per table because we don't want to overcrowd. All right, be very careful. All right, so I went ahead and I poured into my mold. You can see that it's overflowed a little bit, not a big deal. All right, I'm gonna cut all that stuff off anyways. So now I simply open it up. It cools, or I should say hardens, within seconds. It's still very, very hot, so be careful. So now I'm gonna open up my mold, and I'm gonna use needle nose pliers to get everything out. I wanna make sure that I'm not touching this with my hand because I just put 600-degree metal onto this, so I don't wanna burn myself. So I simply pull it out. Now, if you can kind of see this, I'll hold it up against my shirt a little bit. I have the head of my jig right here, and then it looks like it's got like a funny little hat on it. This is our sprue and our riser. The sprue is the part where the metal comes into the top of the mold, and the riser is kind of the overflow. So now you're just simply going to pick your pieces out. Here is one. I noticed as I'm doing this, it didn't get all the way in. The metal probably cooled down. The cool thing about lead is it remelts. So all I have to do now is take my needle nose pliers, holding it in one hand. Okay, I have this on here. I can dip this back inside of my furnace, kind of move it around a little bit, and then tap the edge off, and voila, it's off. I can re-pour this. So you can make mistakes as many times as you need to, all right? I just wouldn't touch this because it's very hot. You want to give it a moment to cool, all right? So you're going to go through all of your molds. Now they've cooled down, so I can grab them with my hands, but sometimes it's easier to grab out with the pliers, all right? And whatever ones are good, keep. Whatever ones are bad, set off to the side and remold. So I have one more that's bad. I would go ahead, and I never want to dip in with my hands. That's too hot. Keep your fingers away. All right? So that's how we make our jigs. Now, once you're done with all of your jigs, you are simply going to cut off that sprue and riser. These are our side cutters. You're just simply going to take this, place it on the top, and you're going to use both hands to cut it off. And when you do, it looks like my jig has a little tiny mohawk on it. That's okay. I'm going to sand that off during my finishing and my painting. There is extra little lead right here. Use a pair of needle nose pliers to place it back into your furnace. Never drop it because it could splash. Speaking of splashing, one thing that's really, really dangerous to have around molten metal, any molten metal period, is any type of liquid, water. If that is to touch into our metal, it will explode out and you will get severely burned. So there's absolutely no liquid, no water bottles allowed around our furnaces, okay? So you would go ahead and cut all the sprues and risers off of the jigs, and then we're gonna go on to our sinkers. So with the sinkers, I'm gonna simply move this stuff off to the side. With the sinkers, all you have to do, very easy, take your little metal plate, place it inside. You'll notice when you're doing that, there's a little groove right inside. Again, take that, make sure it's where you need it to be. Lock it nice and tight. You're gonna have to, oops, mine moved a little bit on me. There we go, a little bit more right there. And lock it down. I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze my handle together again, move my tools out of the way, and do the same exact process. You're just gonna skim the slag off the top, put it in our little waste container next to it, and now I'm simply just gonna take this and I'm gonna pour in, all right? Pour in. Give it a couple seconds, flip it over, and you're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. Just pour it in. And that's the one nice thing with these risers is these lead into each other, so it'll fill up one hole and go down into the next. Now, wait for it to cool, give it a few moments. If you over pour, sometimes you might get some lead that goes over the edge. Just simply take your needle nose pliers and lift that up. Again, I can take this stuff and I can remelt it. At the end, you're always gonna have some little pieces all over the place. Those just pick back up and put into the furnace. Now I'm gonna open this up. Ooh, this is tight. Using your pliers, not your hands, you're gonna grab that little bar out of there, like so. I like to grab another pair of pliers because I know this is still hot. And then I just simply pull off. There we go. All right. Oops. Let's see. It is cool pull down. That's nice. You're going to pull it off. It's going to look like this. Same thing that you did with the jigs. You are going to cut off those sprues and risers. If you have jigs that did not turn out, if you have sinkers that did not turn out, then you need to simply go ahead and remelt it and make them until they're good. So then you should have your little tiny sinker like this. Now, how many do you need? You need to count the mold. That's how many large ones you need, and that's how many small ones you need. All right? Once you're done, we move on to the finishing and the painting of this. So if you have any questions on the making of them, please let the instructor know. Thanks.